So one of the ways to uh, be able to get to this new version that we created is using routing. So with this technique, we prefix API with the version number in our routes. This approach has, maybe it's good for like a really small API, but it could get very complex to manage these routes for each of the versions. So that's a big drawback. Also, another big drawback is that there's not a really good way to redirect or to use the specific version or the newest version. So the user of the API would, it would be kind of vague and complex, to determine which version, how to get to the certain version and things like that. There's not an intuitive way to manage. But nevertheless, I will still show how to use the routing to version. So to use routing versions, and I mean, we can see this because some of the APIs out there actually do this. So we can change our route to use a specific link, like or URL. So for version 1, it will be v1, and then we know that our measures is a version 2. We have a 2 version, so this one we would change to v2 and controller v2, and we could rename our route here to measures 2. So if we run this, we should be able to see now that this one will control, this controller will display this route, but then if we update the link to v2, it will also work with our newest one. But just looking at this, we know that these two are working together. So this one kind of extends the food. This one doesn't really have its own food, so we would actually have to create another foods controller that will open the 2 version, although foods controller hasn't changed. So we can kind of see how this is not working out really well. So here we have API v1 nutrition foods. You can see the links are updating. So if we go to measures, we see the measures, and now if we put a v2, we should be able to see the full. Our new version of the measures. We see that this link is wrong, so we can go ahead and fix that. In our model factory, we have to update our URL helper link creator to measures 2, because this right here, our URL helper, the way it's built, it actually looks at the routes. So now if we update our version 2, we'll see that it updated to, I need to build it first. And then it should update to v2 here. And that's how simple it is to get started and to use the routes. But like we can see, there are quite a few issues with using them because they can make things very complex. And maybe for something really simple, some API that's very, very small, maybe this would be an easy way to do it. But I'm going to get rid of these, because in the next section I'm going to be learning about different and better way to implement the route that we create. To implement, I mean, the version that we create, the version of our measures controller.